Hello, alchemists. Today's question is, what was this connection meant to teach you? If you've already chosen your doorway, check the timestamps below. If not, I'm going to give you a closer look. Doorway number 1. Doorway number 2. And doorway number 3. Let the great work begin. Hello, alchemists, and welcome to your initiation through doorway number 1. What was this connection you were in meant to teach you? And you got abracadabra. We have this lighthouse in a balloon, and it's this woman's head. So like the idea of it being her mind being sort of up in the clouds, but also revealing something hidden. So we won't know for sure until we pull your shadow cards and a few other cards. But I get the feeling that this connection has taught you about being your own light instead of depending on someone else to be the light that inspires you. Okay? And that's something that everybody deserves and everybody needs to learn, because you're always going to attract people who maybe want you to outsource your autonomy to them if you are not your own light. But even if you are your own light, a lot of times people will still approach you in a way where, because they want to feed off of your light. So let's see what this shadow card says. You know what? This came up in last week's as well. This card has been coming up a lot. So I feel like a lot of people feel like they're wearing masks. Sorry about that. I had some technical difficulties. My camera fell, so I fixed that. But, but it makes me think of like, there was probably a lot of drama in this connection that made you feel confused. And the thing that it was taught you was how to clarify your own mind, because you might have been in a connection with someone who kept saying they were a certain thing. Here you have these wolves pretending to be sheep. Oh, I want a future. I get the feeling of like maybe breadcrumbing here, especially because there's like these little bitty tiny morsels of food on the sheep's plates, right? So the idea of breadcrumbing, of leading you on with this lighthouse, maybe even future faking. You might have been dealing with a narcissist or an avoidant. You are highly thought of. That makes me think it's more of an avoidant, because avoidance can love you deeply, can connect to you deeply, but still not have the emotional capacity. They make promises that they can't keep, but they think that they are going to keep when they make a casket. Someone going out of your life or the end of a situation. So yeah, this connection has taught you about inner autonomy and thinking about how your own inner light is what's going to guide you, and not accepting breadcrumbs, or not just trusting what someone says, but waiting to see what their actions are. And so I feel like with this kind of avoidant energy, you've either moved away from this connection, but you're still confused about it, or you're planning to. Or it can feel like, a lot of times when you're in these situations, it feels like not just the death of a relationship, but it can feel like the death of an entire cosmology about love. And that can be so scary, but I feel such empowerment in this image. Warning of a problem either now or in the future. I think that that's a warning to just be very careful about not falling into the same trap again. So with this energy, take some time before you get connected to another person again. And also be extra, extra careful if this particular connection comes back into your life. Make sure that you've had some time without their influence so that you can see more clearly. You're learning a lot from this, and it's been a painful lesson, but abracadabra, you are magical. You are ready to step out of this. And you can't go back. You can't look back. Once you become the lighthouse to yourself, it feels unnatural to do anything else. Empress energy. You may want to look at last week's reading. It's got a lot of the same kind of themes. It was about what realization is helping you move to your next chapter. A lot of the same energies here. Empress energy. This is connecting to this, the idea that like you do not have to get pulled into this other person's manufactured chaos or drama. This is a warning. Don't get pulled back into it, theirs or someone else's. Stay in your Empress energy. I always talk about the Empress box being where you get off of the muddy playing field where people are full of illusions and covered in mud and you can't tell who's who. And if you get pulled in there, you can't even tell who you are because you get covered in mud too. But if you step out into this Empress energy, it doesn't mean you're above anyone else. It just means that you're not investing in that manufactured drama anymore. And you can see it clearly. And so you are more discerning about who you allow into your life, right? So, because you're above the nonsense, you're not above people, but you're above these toxic situations. And we have the Star. So, yeah, this is a really painful transition for you, which makes sense. Like I said, if it's got this kind of avoidant energy around it, that's a very painful energy. But the empowerment after the difficulty, the empowerment after the shadow work, after the tower moment, is something that is a lesson that is going to be irreplaceable to you in your life. You cannot fake this lesson. You can't just know it. It is something that comes to you through the hard work and the deep reflection and the really accepting what your subconscious mind is trying to tell you. Ace of Swords. Yeah, this definitely is leading you to, you know, the loss of this connection or the transformation of this connection, or even just if this is a connection you're still in, you're being called for clarity of mind no matter what the outcome is. And that can be really scary because a lot of times if you know that clarity might bring the end to something, you might avoid clarity. Or there might be other complications that make you not want to rise into this Empress or Star energy, or make you even think that you can't. Because with this, half of the thing is it's not just that the wolves are disguising, but the sheep have to accept it. They have to ignore what's obvious, right? Are you ignoring something obvious when you're truly magic? King of Cups. In the past, your emotions may have gotten the best of you, along with this confusion. But you're being called to use your emotions as a tool. So like, for example, if you want to rise into this Empress energy, but you're having a really hard time managing the emotions around what happened here because your brain was hijacked, or your brain chemicals were hijacked or whatever. Stepping into using whatever anger, sadness, whatever, as a tool to transmute what you went through into your power. That's what you're being called to do. And staying out of this Five of Pentacles energy, which is scarcity, because remember, they've got you very invested in false scarcity. And false scarcity is this card because these two people are here, but there's a sanctuary right there, 5 inches away. They just have to go walk in the door. It's not their fault that they are poor. It's not their fault that they are, injured or whatever, but there is sanctuary there. And it's the same thing for you. It's not your fault you ended up where you are, but you have the opportunity to step out of it now. Start thinking highly of yourself. Trust yourself. This situation, this connection made you really confused. It's time to trust yourself and step into your Empress and Queen of Wands energy. The fire of your heart has been dampened and put out, and it's time for you to look towards the sun again and arise with cleverness, with swiftness. And by doing that, you're going to be able to let go of this energy and learn really some amazing autonomy and inner sovereignty that you've been wanting for a long time. This is great. Your affirmation is unapologetic for my flaws and all. Now, yeah, you just got to love your whole self. And if someone else doesn't get that, then that means they're just not for you. Now, this isn't an excuse to be mean, but some of these wolves, they will keep you thinking that you're being very cruel or mean just for asking for basic things. Be unapologetic for your flaws. Don't apologize for things that you didn't do wrong. If you have a different preference than someone else in love language or anything like that, that is not a flaw. That's just a difference. If they're trying to change you to not need that, what you need, then that's not the person for you, right? Because the right person will automatically either speak your love language because y'all mesh naturally, or when you say what your love language is, they will listen and they will follow through. All right, alchemists, keep your lighthouse bright and your mind clear, and keep up the great work. Hello, alchemists, and welcome to your initiation through doorway number 2. You chose Seek the Ally. And our question today is, what was this connection trying to teach you? All right, with Seek the Ally, I feel like it's a connection that has taught you how to rely more on your friends, or also like being kind of more discerning about who you let into your inner circle, because some people who seem like allies might really be snakes in the grass. And yeah, or like weaselly or something like that. This connection, yeah, so it's also a call that if this is a love connection that you're seeking, it's a call to seek the friendship first. Seek the friendship first. Find the ally within them. Don't just go by the chemistry. Yeah, if you're going by chemistry, you're going to have to cut the cord and you're going to bleed for it. This is your shadow cards. And you're going to waste time that you're going to regret wasting. But remember to be gentle on yourself if you have fallen in love this way, because it's very, very common to see these kinds of struggle of relationships in our culture. But it's also very common to see it in movies, to see it in our lives. People will waste years and years waiting for somebody to change. Find the ally. Find the person who already matches you. Broken ring, parting of the ways in either romance or business. So yeah, I get the feeling that you've discovered that maybe the connection that you've had, and this might be one you're in now or one you've been in the past that you can't quite shake, was focused around chemistry. And so it might have slowly burned out, or it might have been like your nerves are burning out because you have to spend so much time trying to manage their emotions or trying to manage them living up to the expectation that you need to be happy. And so you're being called to learn how to step back and evaluate whether this person is actually your friend, a stubborn, aggressive person. Yeah, there's a lot of energy here of someone who just does not want to change. Dealings or relationship. Okay, so when I get that, I think of like, let me see, career. This might not even be love. Work, achievement, success. Okay. So this could also be like a work connection, since we have this career and this ant here. But with this broken ring, it could also be. So for some of you guys, it's going to be a romantic connection. For some of you guys, it's going to be a work connection. And with this card, I get kind of the idea of like a Karen, you know? I get the idea of a Karen. So if you're dealing with a Karen, seek your allies, right? Don't let her get to you. Don't let her waste your time. And, you know, a Karen can be any gender. It's not. So, yeah, finding the allies in your life, personal life and work life, it's just really important, because then somebody's got your back, and you have someone to talk to, and you have someone to feel safe around. But you also need to be really careful with who you choose. You know, don't just hand over your trust blindly. Not everybody deserves it. We're taught to kind of give ourselves away wholly and, you know, early on in romantic relationships, or even overdoing it at work really quickly. But really, the slow burn is the thing that's going to lead you to more long-term stability and success. All right, we've got the Star, and this also came up in doorway 1. So if you were drawn to that, please check that out. This was also in doorway number 1. So this is like false scarcity energy. And so I'm wondering if you're in a relationship, it's definitely lacking the friendship element of ease. And so there's always like kind of a subtle underlying tension there. But you have within you the capacity right now. This is Star energy. This is post-tower energy to let go of that programming that keeps you in this sort of energy and move more into this sort of friendship energy. You know, starting with friendship and then taking the leap of faith into love, or starting with friendship and then taking the leap of the faith into a big project with somebody at work. Yeah, you've been really heartbroken in the past by this pattern, and you know something's off with it, and you don't want to repeat the same pattern again because it just feels like struggle, 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 love, struggle, work, broken heart, broken dreams. And it's because when you base your relationships off of impulse rather than intuition, then you end up in a situation where you're with somebody that's not compatible, or you're in a job that's not compatible, or you're being pushed around by people when really you might have more knowledge. And so you have to always push back to get what you need. But this high priestess and this star, really it's calling you to look and trust your inner self. When you trust your own inner knowledge, and you're able to kind of block this energy out, then you'll be able to seek allies or seek friends or seek people that put you into this star energy, which is the calm after the difficulty. So that when you have to navigate difficulty, it doesn't become this huge, big, emotionally violent thing. It is just something you deal with in life, and your allies are there to help you. And you know, everyone deserves this. Everybody deserves this kind of energy, but not everybody is emotionally ready for it. This has also come up a lot. Wow. Not everybody is ready for this. So this connection might be something you have to let go of because the other person doesn't have the capacity for a friendship without it being something more, or to work with you without trying to take control. Because when it comes down to it, in human relationships, almost everything is a control issue, right? People want to control each other. People want to control the situation so that their nervous system feels safe. But everything passes if you learn to hold lightly. Life is like water. You need to let it flow through your fingers and not try to grab it. You can't grab water, right? You have to let it flow. So by grabbing water, look, you injure yourself. You're cutting yourself. You have to let it go. Rumi has a poem called Bird Wings. It's about that. He's like, you have to be able to contract and open your hands. If you kept it one way or the other, you would injure yourself. So learn healthy detachment. If Karen at work is being super dramatic all the time, you don't have to invest in that. You don't have to believe that. You don't have to. It can be challenging for you, but you don't have to emotionally invest in it. If you are feeling feelings for somebody, but it's feeling kind of toxic and like they're vampiring you or you're bleeding out, hold that lightly and let their actions show you, right? So this connection has taught you something very rough and very difficult, but you're coming through it, right? You see it, but there's a feeling with that broken ring that, like I said, you've lost the cosmology of what love means. You didn't just lose a relationship or anything. This is really, really close to doorway 1. So if that resonated for you, or if you've ever dealt with like a narcissist or an avoidant, definitely check out doorway number 1. All right, alchemists, keep up the wonderful work, and I will see you soon. Hello, alchemists, and welcome to your initiation through doorway number 3. You chose grab your monster by the tail. And this question was, what was this connection meant to teach you? What was this connection? This could be work. This could be romantic. It could be friendship. What was this connection meant to teach you? I've just been feeling 2 shadow cards today. Grab your monster by the tail. Well, clearly there's some deep shadow work connotations here. Facing your own demons, facing your own monsters. And she's like holding a dragon by the tail. And I guess we'll take all 3 of those. Yeah. So like our demons a lot of time aren't even as bad as we think. You know, Rumi says if you are in the graveyard and you see the boogeyman, run towards him and he vanishes. This is the same thing with shadow work. A lot of times the thing that we're so scared of that's going to be so monstrous and terrible turns out to be not nearly as bad as we thought. And a lot of that has to do with like the way society trains us and our relationships and connections train us, that certain things are unacceptable and really they might not be a bad thing inherently. I like to use the example of a little kid playing in the mud. That's a neutral act, a kid's playing in the mud. But a grown-up might come along and be like, ooh, gross, that's nasty. And then suddenly now that kid has associated that with a really, really horrendous act. And really it's not that big of a deal. This unraveling. You know, this connection has been teaching you that letting yourself unravel for the sake of going in the direction that they're going is not acceptable for you. You might be able to do it for a while. Wow. You know, this came up last week and it came up in doorway number 1, I believe. Yeah, there is a lot of collective energy around this. Wolves disguised as sheep, but they're not even that well disguised. And the sheep taking kind of crumbs. So, you know, with this, I'm getting that energy of, you know, there was a psychologist who said narcissists are like everything good is bad and everything bad is good. And so that just like turns your entire perception upside down. So therefore you're seeing monsters in yourself that probably don't even exist because they're like, ooh, I can't believe you would, you know, ask for more affection, or I can't believe you would do something as horrible as be 5 minutes late. You know, they'll turn these things that aren't really that big of a deal into a huge catastrophe while doing things to you that are actually really, really toxic and making you feel crazy. So if you've been in a dynamic like this, look, Tower. This says solid foundation, success with effort, but in the tarot, the Tower is destruction. And with that lightning bolt in the Tower, that is the destruction that leads to clarity. The lightning bolt of clarity destroys the illusions. And look at all these illusions. January. Okay, so I feel like this probably is a cycle that started a month ago. Whenever you watch this, it would be about a month ago. So this is February. So Vase, Secret Admirer. Mountain Road, you are on the road to success. Flute, disappointment in a friend or lover. Handshake, a meeting with a stranger could be important. Okay. So once you're able to kind of face your own demons, face your own shadows, start going your own direction so you're not unraveling for other people or accepting breadcrumbs, you're gonna feel a lot of disappointment, but it's gonna bring in a lot of other positive energy. I like the Tower being something positive in this one because it's, to me, it's almost like that with the Tower, and the tarot is like a transmutation card. You take the Tower that is destruction in the tarot and you turn it into a solid foundation, right? And with this disappointment, it feels like this connection might be over, or it's going to be over soon. But that being over and you not wasting your bandwidth and your energy on it is what's going to open you up to a better success, to maybe a new admirer if this is a love connection you want. And a meeting with a stranger could be important. Magician energy. Hermit energy. There could be a third party involved in the situation that is leaving, but that you're like, I'm not going to play this game with you anymore. But sometimes you feel like you might get pulled back into their manufactured drama but just remember, that's not a you problem. That is a conditioning problem that just takes some time to overcome. And this card just has so many butts on it, so I'm just going to do this. It's the Justice card. A Judgment card, I mean. Too many butts. Justice. Yeah, wow. Judgment and justice side by side. Followed by, yeah, Two of Cups. What I'm getting from this is that this connection that you're letting go of, or that really hurt you or shaped you or fooled you in the past, it's the very soil of the transmutation that will bring you to a connection that actually fulfills you truly. You wouldn't have been able to get there because your energy wouldn't have been aligned with this person or this situation before. But because of all of this difficulty, this unraveling, you were forced to grab your monster by the tail. You were forced to become your own lighthouse. So once again, that's a reference to doorway number 1 with the lighthouse. And so it's all coming together for you. There's just a lot of evidence here that this has to do with letting go of an old idea or connection to make room for a new one. I attract loving relationships in my life. Yeah, I would definitely claim this pile because it's saying I'm letting go of the things that do not serve me, and I'm only going to make room through my healing for relationships that align with me. No more of this accepting breadcrumbs. No more of this ignoring people's actions in favor of what they say when they're not really doing anything. No more changing your direction and unraveling your life for somebody else who's not even showing up for you. It's time to use judgment and discernment to gain what you deserve in this life. You deserve to be admired. You deserve to let go of situations that are not serving you and to step into a new loving future, whether that's loving yourself more or finding that right partner. But with this, I attract loving relationships to my life. I feel like this is, those specifically drawn to this pile may be like having a difficulty letting go of certain ideas around relationships, but now you're finally starting to get it. You've been taught a hard lesson, but it's really opening you up for a romantic relationship if that's what you want. I attract loving relationships into my life. And once again, it could be friends or it could be work colleagues as well, whatever resonates with you. Well, this is a lot of energy to deal with right now, but you're doing such a great job. Shadow work is never easy, but the hardest thing is to start it most of the time, right? So you've got this, alchemist, and continue the great work.